Hello, everybody. As you may have heard the news, we've discovered time travel in the United States, and the Supreme Court decided that we need to go back 50 years. So I'm the groovy Orion, and I'm a schmo.
I don't know when chirality was invented. Hold on.
Oh, shit. Okay.
um, I I'm the other one. I'm
Easy.
also a schmo.
And welcome, hip cats and swingers, to America, the country formerly known as America in the 1970s. What a nightmare.
Oh, Wikipedia's not helping. Yeah.
I almost
Oh.
started this episode off with that 70s show logo, and I was going to have like the theme song and everything, but I figured that would be in bad taste.
DMCA challenge
It-
speed run.
yeah, exactly. Oh, dude. You take a couple weeks off, and look what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, it's so frustrating.
It is. I've. It's fundamentally frustrating.
I hope that it will serve the opposite of what the Republican Party is clearly trying to do. Um, but I do not have confidence in it. I don't know. It's really easy to get, identifying your own like echo chambers,
Yeah.
is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy to see how that happens to ourselves. I know that there's some that I am probably a part of, so I try to take a lot of what I see as like public sentiment with a grain of salt,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, quick example for like Magic the Gathering stuff. We have a lot of data that community people can pull and that we get from people who are invested in it, but Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro has maintained for a long time that a vast majority of the people who play the game are not people that are that invested,
Yeah.
and that those community data that gets gathered are skewed and misrepresented by the more heavily enfranchised people instead of what is actually visible out there. So we can go on Reddit and Twitter and gauge the quote unquote public sentiment, but in reality, we can't because we don't have access to these masses of people that just aren't really in tune with social medias about the game, even though they are active players. And we have the same thing with politics, where a post from, AOC can get a 500,000 likes and a shitload of traction and whatever, but that doesn't matter when of those people who are actually seeing it and interacting with it are still only a fraction of the whole that we're trying to reach and trying to get onto our side. Even though it looks like this big thing, it might not be.
I agree entirely.
Yeah.
So for everybody who's not an American, we have this thing called the Supreme Court, which at this point should just be changed to a food court because that's how useful they are. Deciding that a case that a previous Supreme Court in the United States had over 50 years ago is no longer applicable to our Constitution because apparently the word abortion is not said enough in our Constitution.
Well, not said at all.
Well,
That
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
exactly.
that's the gist, is
Yeah.
that because in their opinion, and because there's the Supreme Court barring a later decision by another Supreme Court, it is final. Because the word abortion is specifically not said as it relates to the 14th Amendment of our Constitution, it cannot be applied to that, and in order for it to apply, it would require a further amendment. Which, what was the words that they used? Based on like they talk about like history is their justification for their decisions.
History.
These people are the direct result of a conservative legal movement started like sort of during the Reagan administration that has basically been building up to this for, like 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's not an exaggeration. This has been a concerted long-term effort. And they got what they wanted, right? And they're not going to stop there. But
No.
with it relating to this specifically, I believe they call themselves like originalists or textualists or something like that, where they interpret the Constitution in the literal sense that if it is not explicitly said in there, it does not apply.
So automatic
Which, if you
assault rifles are not considered
Yeah.
arms, right? I don't see that in the second.
So, to that degree,
Yes.
the Second Amendment has been limited historically as to what types of arms, the Second Amendment is not all inclusive. You can't just go and buy an automatic rifle from Walmart. There are systems in place to restrict access to those. And we'll get into this some more with one of the other Supreme Court cases that was decided this week. But the question as to what restrictions can and can't be applied to the purchase and sale of firearms is definitely contested still.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the major frustration points with these two decisions that they pass down in how contrasting they are while using almost the same language in opposite directions.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Supreme Court has effectively ruled that abortion is determined at the state level. We'll have to see how this goes. The immediate impacts of that are absolutely heinous.
Yes.
There's no question there. Something like 26 states either already have laws on the books that ban abortion, have trigger laws that go into effect with the signature from their governor without any other input, or are currently in the process of drafting and passing laws with the explicit intention of blocking access to abortion for people in their states. Michigan is one of those. We have a law from the 1900s on the books that does technically go into effect now that makes abortions in the state illegal. Roe v. Wade made it so that it didn't apply, but it was never repealed, and it is still there. Thankfully, our governor and our attorney general have stepped in instead of actual legal action and have basically said that for as long as they are the governor and the attorney general, they are taking all of the steps that they can to start the process of removing that law. And in the meantime, it will not be prosecuted against. I saw explicitly from the attorney general that they are starting the process of trying to get state initiatives onto the ballot to just have it overturned as a measure by the people of the state.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be surprised to see more action on that happening very quickly here. Seems like a no-brainer to have it put on the state ballot. And I guess Michigan is kind of, lucky in a sense that we do have mechanisms to do that and kind of skirt around the state legislature when it does get deadlocked. But there's a lot of places that aren't so lucky. And it is a very scary time for everyone, most so for the women directly being impacted by this, but as well for the people who are going to support those people and who care about them. Who doesn't know a woman, right? I'm sure some people on 4chan would like you to believe it, but everyone does, and they are all being directly impacted by this.
Now here's where you're wrong. God. You see, babies are cute. And we need more cute.
Objection. I disagree.
Wow.
No, babies are gross. Fuck that.
I will say this. I like the sounds babies make more than I like babies.
Mm,
Yes.
no.
No?
No, no, no.
No?
None of it. Get it all out of here.
Are you afraid of fatherhood, Kyril?
No, not at all. But I find the prospect of dealing with infants highly unappealing.
You're right. I'm sorry. I had to. There is a good 13 years between my oldest fellow sibling and me, and that means you have to help with the babies.
I've been very lucky to not have that happen.
This is why I relate to you. I'm still a single child at heart. Only child at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Let's talk about the terrifying ramifications of where this goes from here, because of course it doesn't stop.
It's like the war on drugs times 10, because let's face it, I'd rather people like actually take responsibility for sniffing in pure cocaine, but there are some people who are fucking desperate. They're going to have to go to some unsafe, shady ass, unregulated medical facilities for this shit, and that is scarier to me than all the drugs in the world.
Yep.
God.
Welcome to Kyril's 1,300-page thesis on why all drugs should be legal and anything else is the bad idea.
Well, yeah. This is why I have a fucking problem with in our country. Every time we criminalize something, well, we're Americans. We're going to make a black market off it. There goes all the tax dollars we could be making off it. There goes all the extra money we have to spend on policing to, go after this illegal thing we just made illegal. Really, we just cut out the fucking middleman.
Well, and not to mention all of the black market activity just goes to propping up, typically it props up other criminal activity.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like a criminal economy is going to bring out legit money. It's just going to feed itself.
Night and day how marijuana has been treated in our state since it was legalized statewide.
As someone with a father with a weed farm, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how many small businesses have popped up specifically dealing with it? And not just small businesses dealing with it. It's created branch off industries that have had to basically be created in order to support marijuana.
Yeah.
Because if you run a marijuana dispensary, you can't go to federal banks because of the federal laws that are still on the books. They won't touch you. Yep. So it forces these new legal and financial systems to get set up at a lower level in order to support these places. If you're a business owner with a lot of employees and you genuinely care about them, you still want to make sure that they can get a retirement account, but you can't do that federally because of the laws that they have. So you have to find workarounds.
And controversial opinion here, I kind of like the idea of building industry instead of tearing it down with criminalization. Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows what happened with prohibition. It's like been kind of come around to being like fantasized about at this point. Yeah. In a complete turnaround.
I think we should have learned way more from prohibition than we actually did.
Yep.
Because I truly believe one day the war on drugs will have to end for just our own sanity's sake. Whether it be China buys us out and decides that the war on drugs is not cost effective or anything like that, we'll have to see. But I think it will be looked at in the same way as prohibition.
Yep. Bringing it back to the Roe ruling.
Oh, God.
So the really terrifying part about this is a concurrent opinion issued by Clarence Thomas, so one of the justices on the Supreme Court. Typically, the way that Supreme Court rulings are passed down is that there is a single majority opinion, generally speaking, where all of the justices that are in agreement about how this should be ruled on that formed the majority, in this case 6, it's a 6-3 ruling, share the same opinion, and one of them basically writes it with the others co-signing onto it in agreement. And then the justices that don't agree with it write their own individual dissenting opinions outlining why they disagree with the majority.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Justice Thomas went out of his way to write his own opinion agreeing with the majority, but going one step further. And in his concurrent opinion, he specifically says that the substantive due process doctrine that, in his opinion, was the failing of Roe v. Wade and why it was no longer constitutional in the eyes of the court, is also applicable to 3 other specific court cases that he put by name in this. There's no hiding it. There's no obfuscation. He specifically called these out, being Griswold v. Connecticut, Lawrence v. Texas, and Obergefell v. Hodge. Going through the list, Griswold v. Connecticut is a 1965 decision that allowed married couples to buy and use contraceptives. Lawrence v. Texas, a 2003 decision that established the right for consenting adults to engage in same-sex intimacy, typically referred to as sodomy. And Obergefell v. Hodge is the 2015 court decision that established the right for same-sex couples to be married. In Thomas's opinion, all 3 of those right and to have access to contraceptives, the right to engage in same-sex intimacy with consenting adults, and the right for same-sex couples to be married are all equally invalid due to the substantive due process clause that he says does not exist in the 14th Amendment. Quick aside. Notably absent from this is a 4th Supreme Court decision that is often included amongst these others, which is Loving v. Virginia, which was the Supreme Court decision that established the right to interracial marriage. Notably, Justice Thomas, a black man, has a white wife, and he did not include that decision in his opinion. And it is not in any way surprising to see that. You know, it's the very typical I don't care about this stuff or it's wrong until it applies to me mentality, even though all of them can be argued to have been founded on the same constitutional basis of substantive due process.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is the immediate thing that is bad, I think we can say. The scary one is one that you sent me a screenshot of that is genuinely terrifying.
Oh, 1 second. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But...
a wonderful tweet from, I believe he's a Texas senator.
He's Texan.
Yeah, go figure. Texas Senator John Cornyn.
Yes.
Who tweeted in response to Roe v. Wade. So let's give the full context here. Former President Barack Obama tweeted, "Today, the Supreme Court not only reversed nearly 50 years of precedent, it relegated the most intensely personal decision someone can make to the whims of politicians and ideologues, attacking the essential freedoms of millions of Americans." John Corwin responded, "Now do Plessy v. Ferguson and Brown v. Board of Education."
No. 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 No.
Yeah. So.
No. Stop.
They have no interest in stopping. In my opinion, and the opinion of many others, it's obvious that the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade and any number of these other cases that they're talking about are not because, as the people who wrote these laws would tell you, they believe that life starts at some point, or that it's murder, or it's morally wrong. These are all cases specifically being targeted so that they can exert control over certain groups.
Can we just bring up what Brown versus Board of Education is?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that is segregation, and
Yes.
that you can't.
That is
I will
the
say though,
no on segregation.
um, one of the longstanding problems that the courts have very swiftly sidestepped as it relates to Brown v. Board of Education is that they said, yes, you cannot segregate schools. But then very shortly after, when school districts started to try to implement those rulings, happened right here in Michigan, they started to use busing programs to help serve that integration of these schools. And from that came a later ruling that said, yeah, you can't do that. And we have what we have now, where I would say, most schools still aren't integrated. The community, but they're not segregated, to be clear.
Yes.
The communities are.
Yes.
Where you have communities of predominantly, if not exclusively, single race or national identities. And all of those people just happen to still go to the same school. And it's not segregated because they're not actively doing it. It's just de facto segregation by not so subtle movements of people to different neighborhoods. You know, white flight is not a new concept, and it was pretty plain what was happening when these rulings happened. But still, to that degree, calling out Brown v. Board of Education as if it too should be repealed as a reversal of nearly 50 years of precedent is clearly awful.
It's fucking scary.
Yeah.
It just absolutely blows my mind
and
that you can see like progress like this get absolutely wiped out in an evening.
And then for Plessy v. Ferguson, just for completion here, that is the Supreme Court decision that separate but equal is not constitutional.
Yep. So
if they have their way, we won't go back to 1970. We'll be going back to 1896.
Good times, good times. That was right before which war again?
I think the first one.
Yeah, the First World War.
Yeah.
And what came after the First World War? What was that? The ground was laid and ready for what was it again? Nazis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm no bueno.
Good old-fashioned homegrown fascism.
Homegrown fascism, just like Grandma used to make.
Okay.
So if you're in Texas and you're listening to this, please vote that chump out. Do me a solid, dude. Like, get off your Texas phone or computer. Go out and vote him out. Come back, finish up this show. Give us 5 stars on Google. Like and subscribe. And have a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would very much like that. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where voting isn't enough.
No. It's great, but obviously there's too many bad actors. And they want you to not be able to vote.
Yep.
Easily.
And they're doing everything that they can to do it with redistricting and restricting alternate voting ways.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing everything they can to make sure that your vote doesn't count. So I think we've about a half hour here. There is other news, unfortunately. And most of it is not good.
Oh, wait. Can we just... I do want to highlight something kind of fucking hilarious about this whole story.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she was trying to call AOC for starting an insurrection at the Capitol, even though she was just protesting with a whole bunch of obviously very pissed off people.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love the hypocrisy of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very dumb. rapid fire other Supreme Court rulings of various merit.
Oh no.
Let's go.
Oh god.
Number 2, Miranda rights are basically dead. So the Supreme Court ruled that you can't sue an officer that failed to inform someone being arrested of their rights.
Yep. Okay.
The only recompense for not being informed of their rights is that any evidence or testimony collected as a result of them not being aware of their rights cannot be admitted. So yeah,
Nice.
good on them. Yeah, it's bad.
That's what we need. More of in this world. Less accountability.
Yep.
Your Miranda rights are no longer Miranda left.
Supreme Court in a 6-3 majority also struck down a New York concealed carry law. I need to do some more research on this one. We were talking about this before. At face, I don't agree with this ruling. Long term, ideally, we need a constitutional amendment that clearly reflects the current sentiment of the American people as it relates to firearms. Because as long as the conservatives have a 6-3 majority in the courts, the Constitution is never going to reflect the will of its people. Not anymore.
Yep.
That we know that. One element to this that, as far as I can tell, is a happy accident. Is the distinction for concealed carry as to whether it is like a permit type.
Okay.
And this is the part that I need to do some more research into, because the way that I've heard it is the difference between a may issue permit and a shall issue permit. New York had a may issue permit system, which was part of what was struck down in this, compared to other states that have shall issue. And from what I understand, the distinction is that a shall issue enacts certain requirements that must be met prior to a license being administered, but that given those requirements are met, a license shall be issued. Compared to New York, where it was may be issued. There's still not the certainty of it there. So, certain certifications or training. If you go through these processes and they're not lengthy to the point of being egregious, you shall be issued a license upon their completion.
Yep.
One of the problems that came up with the New York system is that because there wasn't a guarantee of it being issued, it led to, it's kind of opened the door for corruption, which shouldn't be the concern here. That is its own thing. If corruption is happening, that's clearly bad, but it's not exclusive to this gun law thing. However, in this case, it does seem that may have been what's happening, where people were basically paying bribes to get their may issue concealed carry licenses, which is not good, obviously. But the Supreme Court decision is, certainly one that's going to be challenged. To the contrast of that, though, we also had a gun safety bill, bipartisan, which is of, it was. There's something like 15 Republican senators that signed on to it. That is not as large as many would like it in its reach, but it is actual legislation passed by our actual government that does actually pertain to, the purchase of firearms. So it is not enough, but it is good that something happened. That's unfortunately the state that we're at, where something, even if it's not enough, is an improvement over the nothing that was happening.
Yay? Question mark?
If we have time, we'll go through this a bit more later because there's nothing massive in it, but they are some small changes that should help to reduce certain types of shootings and close some loopholes. Now we get into some of the interesting ones.
Oh no.
To me, at least, because I'm weird. And these are the kinds of court cases that just kind of make me go, huh. In addition to the others, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a death row inmate in Georgia who is challenging Georgia's lethal injection protocol and wishes to receive his execution by firing squad, which is not authorized by that state. The Supreme Court said that the inmate does have the right to bring that challenge under a federal civil rights law that allows individuals to seek remedies where their constitutional rights are violated. In this case, the Fifth Amendment, I want to say, which is like cruel and unusual punishment type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I believe would be what they're talking about here. Meaning that inmates who have been convicted of crimes and are on death row could seek alternative means of that happening to reduce the cruelty of their punishment as they see it. I'm going to skip over this one and come back to it. Ruling on Medicare, where the Supreme Court upheld the approach currently taken by the Department of Health and Human Services in calculating certain Medicare payments for hospitals that serve a large number of low-income patients. So I don't know the specific details of it. There was some challenge to how they do that, and the Supreme Court said, nah, it's good. Main religious school fundings. So this one went one way earlier in the week and kind of turned around later. So the initial ruling for this one came out on Tuesday, saying that Maine cannot exclude religious schools from a tuition assistance program, that is their school voucher program, that allowed parents to send their children to public or private schools, predominantly in this case being regions where a public school was not readily accessible, but a private religious school was. Supreme Court ruled that Maine could not specifically exclude religious schools from use of those vouchers. However, later in the week, Maine's Attorney General released a statement that basically said, sure, but our school voucher system still has requirements that in order for those schools to be able to receive those vouchers, they have to demonstrate that they do not discriminate against LGBT. He had the full one. It was a specific one because it's a specific law. Basically, that they don't discriminate against who can and cannot attend their school. You know, if you are receiving these vouchers as a public school instead of, you basically have to allow everyone to come there or not. Specifically calling out their refusal to admit certain gay and transgender students, as well as discriminatory practices amongst their hiring that might be fine as a religious institution, but are not fine as someone receiving public funds.
I mean, good on Maine.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, the first step they lost, but they do seem to have their shit together enough in that they have other checks in place to make sure that rampant use of public funds doesn't go to just, you know, things against the public interest. That's, of course, the main concern on the other side of this. So, yeah, if you're a religious school that is, you know, meeting all of the requirements needed to receive these funds that are completely divorced from the religious aspects, you're still fine. Going back, CNN has this under voter ID laws, but I don't think that's quite the case. That is related to the specifics of this case, but the decision seems to be much farther reaching. And I could probably do an hour of research into this. But on Thursday, the Supreme Court ruled that 2 Republican leaders in North Carolina legislature could step in to defend that state's voter ID law, even though the North Carolina Attorney General, a Democrat, is already in the process of handling that case. So future rulings will probably have to happen in order to clarify what the hell they actually mean by this. Because, of course, the Supreme Court's not required to actually give guidance as to what the fuck they're talking about. They just write words and then you have to guess.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guess right, or if you're not lucky, you guessed wrong.
You broke
As an
the
example
law.
of this, in our state, as it relates to abortion, our attorney general has explicitly stated that they will not be moving to enforce the anti-abortion measures that are on the book. The question from that then is, can other state officials step in and say, sorry, we're going to do it anyways as a result of this ruling? We don't know, but it leaves the door open for that to occur, seemingly. And that's the rundown. Thanks, Supreme Court, for cramming all of your bullshit into like a week instead of the other 51 weeks of the year.
They said you're welcome.
You know, it's really frustrating. Like, how long have we known about this abortion ruling actually existing, right?
Yeah.
It leaked how fucking long ago? 2 months almost, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And they just now actually officially said it. So they've just been sitting on it this whole time. Very frustrating.
I said this before the show, but I was so convinced they would do it after midterms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely, if you're talking like political tactics, that's one of those things that you can go back and forth on as to like what is the right way of doing it if you want to have the biggest impact, positive impact for your party.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I feel like they did this just to get on the January 6th committee's like advertisements and just to like astroturf it. And I think
it pulls the public attention away from it.
Yeah, and I think that's why Marjorie kept screaming insurrection when there was that protest outside the Capitol, because, well, quite frankly, I think she wanted to flip the script.
Well, yes, absolutely. She's also just like an actual psychopath.
And
so.
you're not wrong. It scares me that she got elected. What state is she representing?
Oh, I have no idea.
God.
She got in by some like questionable means. If you look up am I spelling it wrong? No, I was spelling it right. Typically when you're on Google on Chrome, when you start to type something in, it will give you suggested results. If you start to type in Marjorie, it doesn't give me anything about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
What does it give you?
It gives me a song by Taylor Swift, an American ballet dancer, and Marjorie Taylor Spectrum Health of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I find that amusing. That's very clearly intentional. She's a representative of Georgia. Go figure. I'm pretty sure she was elected as part of like a special election, I want to say.
Yeah, I'm like kind of reading
I
over.
might be wrong with that, but I don't remember exactly how it worked.
Her fucking Wikipedia page is a ride, man.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, born May 27th, 1974, also known by her initials MTG, is an American politician, businesswoman, and far-right conspiracy theorist who has served as the U.S. representative for Georgia's 14th Congressional District since 2021. A member of the Republican Party and a strong supporter of former President Trump, she was elected to Congress in 2020 following the retirement of Republican incumbent Tom Graves. Greene has promoted far-right white supremacists and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, including the white genocide conspiracy theory, QAnon, and Pizzagate, as well as other disproven conspiracy theories such as...
I think that's enough. But
I didn't get to the fun ones. Go on.
Of note, part of the conservative side, and they're talking about the Roe v. Wade decision.
Okay.
Notably, at a Trump rally, one of his speakers was very particularly talking about the like the white erasure thing.
No.
And how now, yes, yeah.
No.
Yeah. And how this decision will prevent that. So like that tells you where these people are. They're genuinely like conspiracy theorist doesn't do them justice.
Like, where do you get these ideas that they're just going to get rid of all the white people? I really want to know.
Well, so Fox News has gotten to the point, and similar programs, that they know they can say whatever the hell they want, and they will say whatever they need to keep their base angry.
Yeah.
You know, say whatever they need to keep their people distracted from learning about the stuff that's actually impacting them, right? There's a reason that people who go further on in education tend to lean liberal, because when you know what's going on and you can see historically and learn what has happened in the past, you can see how much of a facade the conservative movements are and how they don't help the average person.
History is so important. I really wish we just gave it the respect it deserved in public school education. Oh well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kick the hornet's nest today. I'm going to see if there's...
So,
go on.
For the bipartisan gun safety bill, which it wasn't not bipartisan, but it's not like it was 100%, right? Yep. You know, it passed the House 234 to 193, which included a whole 14 Republicans. But it does include some important stuff. So it includes $750 million to help states implement and run crisis intervention programs. It can be used to implement and manage red flag programs, which through court orders can temporarily prevent individuals in crisis from accessing firearms, and for other crisis intervention programs like mental health courts, drug courts, and veterans courts. Those are huge. Those are massive, and hopefully it'll get more funding as the years go on, because those are the kinds of programs that genuinely do help, maybe not with like mass shooting stuff, but when a large chunk of gun violence is self-inflicted through suicide, having access to resources for people who are in crisis like that is huge.
Yes.
Bill also closes a years-old loophole in domestic violence law, the so-called boyfriend loophole, which will now bar anyone from having a gun who is convicted of a domestic violence crime against someone they have a continuing serious romantic relationship a continuing serious relationship of a romantic or intimate nature. The law is not retroactive, of course. However, it allows those convicted of misdemeanor domestic violence crimes to restore their gun rights after 5 years of proving they have not committed other crimes. Also encourages states to include juvenile records in the National Instant Criminal Background Check System with grants, as well as implements a new protocol for checking those records. Bill goes after individuals who sell guns as primary sources of income but have previously evaded registering as federally licensed firearms dealers, increases funding for mental health programs and school security.
Good
stuff.
Yeah.
Not enough, but it's better than nothing.
I feel like that's what happens every time a bill gets passed in the United States. Yep.
Pretty much.
That's how conservative this country is. Good stuff, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay.
Yo.
I have 3 more stories here.
Oh, no.
Before we get into movie time. These are things I just think are kind of interesting.
Go on.
One in particular is particularly, I don't want to say lighthearted because it's shitty that it went the way that it did, but yeah, it's interesting. So, number 1, the title framing around this story is so blatantly obvious in just how skewed it is. In Rhode Island, a Republican candidate running for their state senate assaulted his Democratic rival at an abortion rally. I've seen a lot of titles related to this one. They all try to glaze over that part. I think that's pretty key. He threw 3 punches all at this one person and then fled. Like, it was very targeted.
What a bitch. Like, who throws 3 punches?
He has since been charged with assault and disorderly conduct and has withdrawn from the election. But yeah, this guy is currently a police officer. He was off duty at the time, but is a police officer and did this. It's stupid, but kind of, I don't know. It's a mix of awe at how dumb this guy is for doing it in the first place, and then equally awed that he probably could have gotten away with it if he wasn't off duty.
That's what I kind of just summed it up as. Like, that was instinct telling him that he can get away with that.
Like, they have to specify he was an off-duty officer, or else he probably would have been fine.
Yeah. That's absolutely crazy to me that this man went to violence first. Fuck him.
Okay.
Yo.
Other stuff. Afghanistan had a pretty major earthquake last week.
Yep.
It was just Wednesday. Fairly recently. In response to it, the Afghan government, which, as I'll remind you, is now the Taliban, has been requesting international aid. International aid has been reluctant to come forward. Put it that way. In which has come to the point where now the Taliban has had to release a statement specifically saying they will not interfere with Afghanistan earthquake aid because organizations are concerned about how in the past they did exactly that, where they tried to divert money and resources away from the aid where it was meant to go and towards their own supporters.
Wow.
So it was a pretty big earthquake. 5.9 magnitude, struck hardest in the east along the border with Pakistan, killed more than 1,000 and left thousands more homeless. It's a hard situation because there's a lot of organizations that have built themselves for exactly this, but have to hesitate because they can't trust the government to actually let them do their own jobs.
I mean, yeah, it's a shitty situation.
There's not an easy answer.
Yeah. And quite frankly, this is more of those consequences for the last, 20 years we were hanging out over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. If the former Afghan government was also quite corrupt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But if the earthquake had happened while they were in control, there would probably be international response and aid without much question.
Well, they have better brand awareness than the fucking Taliban.
That's not wrong.
I know. It doesn't make it any better, but the term Taliban is the exact reason we're having these issues. What else do we got?
Okay. Did you hear about the mass DMCA strikes that went out to people who were cataloging and re-uploading music from the Destiny video game?
No, but go on.
Earlier this year, huge number of DMCA claims went out, basically obliterating the music from the video games that people were trying to either recreate in part on their own or archive for just informational purposes to have it as a resource. Bungie themselves have explicitly stated in the past that they are fine with this. As long as people aren't trying to profit off of their work, they have no problem with people cataloging and archiving these things for future use. Which was strange because in these DMCA notices, they appeared to come from Bungie, which left a lot of confusion when even some of Bungie's own channels started being hit by these claims.
Oof.
So what quickly came out was that this was not Bungie. Someone had set up fake accounts under the Bungie name and had issued these strikes with those accounts. Bungie started an internal investigation to confirm that it was not them, and when they did, they started the process of taking basically legal action to figure out who the hell was doing this.
Mhm.
Because, you know, just having two random Gmail accounts that were made to look like Bungie's anti-piracy legal team, basically, is not particularly easy to identify. But they were successful, and they were able to figure out explicitly who it was after cooperating with Google themselves and trying to figure out where these accounts are made from using apparently IP addresses. The really disappointing thing about this is who it ended up being the actual source of the DMCA claims was from another YouTuber.
No.
Person went by the name of Lord Nazo and did basically the same thing as the channels he was targeting as a result of this. He, in his instance, ripped music from the games and re-uploaded them to YouTube. But because of the way he did it, he was hit with real copyright and DMCA notices related to it. And the details of it aren't explicitly clear yet, but it seems as some sort of retribution for that or feeling of being unfairly targeted. He started this specifically targeting the other channels that were doing the same thing he did that weren't hit as well. And it's particularly shitty looking into the details because as this was unfolding, he was playing dumb and playing ignorant and went to the extent of hitting his own channel with more of these DMCA claims to try and hide it when he was the one issuing them and was trying to commiserate with everybody as their channels were being imploded by, you know, the YouTube automated stuff. Yeah, it's very tragic. And, you know, interesting to see that when you get a multi-million-dollar company involved, the YouTube copyright system, I guess, works, but it's a shame this was allowed to happen in the first place.
Money speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I have for news.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk movies? We got some movies.
There's movies?
There's movies.
Movies.
I saw a movie.
You saw a movie?
Yeah.
How'd you see the movie?
I went to a theater.
What, there's theaters?
Yeah, I know, right?
Whoa. Go on.
So it turns out,
Yes.
Top Gun Maverick is good.
I hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very entertaining. It does a really good job, even though it has a lot of stuff that is based on the original movie, of course, because it's the same characters, right? It's the same general plot. You don't need to know or have even seen the first movie to get a lot of it.
Okay.
It helps, of course, just to understand who the characters are and some of their relationships, but it's not required. And the best parts of it being, you know, the good action and effects work that was done for it, on top of like the actual incredibly done flying that they did for the film.
Mm-hmm.
It is really the appeal. And the story is just kind of, you know, window dressing that helps move along. But it's really good. I would highly recommend it.
I already heard it made like $1 billion, which I'm sure that's causing Sony to like foam at the mouth in anger.
I'm curious to see where it falls on like the
list,
the top movies list. Yeah. It's got to be up there.
It's got to be.
49th.
49.
Just broke a billion. Yeah. 1,000,000,006,000,000. It's really good. It does this thing in it where it feels like it has 3 endings almost, but it
Really?
does it in kind of a good way, where it feels like, oh yeah, this is where they would end the movie, and then they just keep going. And they get to some of like the most entertaining parts when they do that.
Hmm.
I think we're fine to talk spoilers.
I mean,
We're like a month out, right?
yeah, yeah.
Do you care?
I don't plan on seeing it. Like, can't say
Okay.
it's on my radar, but go on.
So, the gist of it, I'm if I can get this right. I'm pretty sure this is correct. The original Top Gun used the pilots flying like it's either F-15s or F-16s, Vietnam era jets.
Okay.
The current one has them flying F-18s, which are not top of the line jets in terms of like dogfighting performance, but the intention behind them is that because of the specific requirements for this mission, they believe that the more dated, but because they're like more agile, and the idea is that they need to like fly in this little valley below surface to air missiles, so they need these not as fast, not as powerful, but agile planes to do it.
Mhm.
Is the right choice. But if they get spotted and they get seen by the surface to air missiles, they're fucked. They get seen by newer, better planes, they're fucked. So it's got this tension to it where they're doing these really aggressive, tight maneuvers, but not actually dogfighting, which is kind of clever. It's unique, and it does it in a different way because the original Top Gun was pretty heavily emphasized when they actually got to the real world stuff. Was about that dogfighting and overcoming the odds of having the less good planes to beat the new planes, where this one is focused more on the skill of flying involved and the pushing these planes to the absolute physical limits of them.
Mm.
So it's neat in that way.
Yeah.
And throughout the movie they go through it, and the big turning point is that Tom Cruise's character, who is this like historic pilot amongst the Navy, is brought in to teach these younger pilots how to fly this mission. And it eventually comes through where he's just like, nah, you're not good enough, I'm doing it myself, kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's a pretty good scene where he like basically steals a plane and flies their course on the time that they need to prove that it can be done, because none of the other ones could do it before he did. So he's just like, fuck you guys, I'm doing it my way, because they're like gonna scrap the project and do something else. And yeah, it works out to be that way. So then the ending you expect to happen is that when they go into this bit at the end, one of the other pilots flying with them is the son of Tom Cruise's character's former wingman, who died when they were in training in the Navy in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that interpersonal relationship there. It gets to the end of the movie. They're evading enemy aircraft and surface-to-air missiles, deploying flares to not get hit by the missiles and stuff, and they run out of flares, and oh no, there's one more missile. And in order to save the life of his dead friend's son, he flies his plane between them to basically soak up the missile blast.
Ooh.
And you get this thing at the end where it's like, oh shit, he just died. And they play it off pretty good, where they have the other planes leaving and flying away, and it feels like that's the end of it. And then it cuts to him still being alive. So he managed to parachute and not go down in a big fiery explosion. And it gets to this point where we have his dead friend's son comes back for him, saves his life as well. And this is where it starts to get kind of absurd. So they've both been shot down out of their planes and survived. It's absurd in a good way, in a fun way, in a suspension of disbelief way. They've been shot down out of their planes. They're on the ground in the snow here in this place, undisclosed, unnamed country. They sneak their way over to the airstrip near the facility they were targeting that was just bombed by their own people. And what do you know? They happen to find an old mothballed F-15, one of the planes they would have flown in the first movie, on this airstrip that they then steal to try to get back to the aircraft carrier they launched from. And
I'm
as they're flying away, they get spotted by two of these like super cutting edge fighters and have to go through this dogfight with this decrepit relic that they don't even know if it works, fighting against these brand new planes.
I have so many
And it's
problems
great.
right now.
It's amazing.
No, it does not sound amazing.
It is so good. But they have like through that, there's like 3 different bits where with the scoring and the way they have it cut, you think that's like the right end of the movie. Like, oh, he gave his life to save the life of his friend's son. That's so perfect of an ending. And then they just keep going and raising it up, and it's really good.
Fuck that. 100%. What the fuck? That sounds terrible. Why are people calling this a good movie?
Doesn't it? It's so good. It's played so well.
Damn it.
It's you just have to accept this isn't like a serious military movie. It's like the Avengers but with planes. Right?
Okay, if
They
that's the
do
tone.
dumb shit and crack wise,
Yeah.
and you just kind of have to accept it and move along, and it works brilliantly.
That works better, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's really good.
okay. So if you think that's
and-
good, I do have something to
Yes.
recommend to you.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So this thing that I'm about to recommend is a little bit on a hiatus, so you have time to catch up with everybody else. It's a little well-known IP called fucking One Piece. If you like that shit, you'll like One Piece.
I have I have no doubt that I would. Okay.
Yo.
I just cannot be. I can't be fucked to try to catch up with something like Stranger Things that's like 5 years old. I really can't be fucked to catch up with that much of anything.
No, you can. You can be fucked with, dude.
No. No.
No. Okay.
I do not have the attention span.
Then how about this little known video game called Seamen?
Seaman. I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah. You have. I'm a little bit of a Seaman expert around these parts, boy.
Oh, are you?
Yes. You just gotta open your mind, Kyril. If you can accept that this one random plane from the first movie is on this little known area and it's operational, you can accept a lot of things in this world. That's all I'm saying.
So we have other movies.
Oh, we do?
Newer
Okay.
movies. Yeah, movies I haven't seen. One of them actually looks pretty good. I figure you've probably seen ads for it. The Elvis movie.
Yeah, I'm interested in it, but I'm not like too interested.
Yeah.
If it's streaming, I'll watch it.
I think that's fair. I'm debating seeing it in theaters. Not sure if I'm going to yet. I think it'll be like a timing thing. If it's like I have a block here where I want to go see a movie and it's showing and there's not anything else, yeah, I'll probably see it. But I agree. I'm not like super into it for that. But it does look very good.
It looks interesting. I don't know what else to really get out of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's
It's got Baz Luhrmann, which is kind of cool.
I think Jack White's in it somewhere, but I don't know too much.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see. Because I know he played Elvis in Dewey Cox. Oh, he's in the soundtrack.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It seems like another solid entry into the recent musical biopics we've been getting sort of from that era.
You mean the musical biopics cinematic universe? Because technically they're all in the same cinematic universe.
That's technically true.
Yes. This is canon to Bohemian Rhapsody and Walk the Line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I do feel like, though, quite a few of these movies are and have been better as trailers. Because I feel like most people already kind of know the rough story beats because it's not like these are unknown people. Everybody kind of roughly knows how Elvis's life went, I feel.
Yeah.
And just having a really well put together 5-minute little piece of like, yeah, this is Elvis is fun. I'm not sure if it's as good for a full movie though, but it's not bad, to be clear.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know.
So I've seen a lot of music biopics and I read a lot of musical biographies.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I hate the biopic format, but I do think you can make a musical movie like about someone's like stop doing these stories where it's the whole person's life. Absolutely fucking stupid to do it like that, because you really don't get like many great arcs. You know, it's so broad of a story, you don't have much time to like put everything together. But I'd be down for like select moments in an artist's career where they really made their big turn. I'd be down to fuck with those kind of movies.
One thing that I would really hope to get from this Elvis one would be a focus on his early life and his start. Because I think that's a part that a lot of people either don't realize or don't know is what inspired him and his style and what led to his career.
Yes.
And being able to shine a light on that in an entertaining way is more important than rehashing the moments that everybody's already seen a million times.
Exactly. So if I could fix anything about musical biopics, the only ones where it kind of makes sense is like the 27 Club, where they were just so dramatically lived that they didn't have too much of a story to showcase, so it makes sense to like their whole life. But like, so there's this movie, right? It's called Stardust. It's terrible. It's a David Bowie biopic, and apparently it's so bad that David Bowie's own estate wouldn't let them use the music. So they have like all this dramatic filler music for like what's supposed to be David Bowie's music. And it's supposed to be like his whole life apparently. And mainly focusing on like the Ziggy Stardust period. No, fuck that. There's like, oh my god, the box office for this movie was terrible. Okay. Whoa. Sorry, getting a little sidetracked here. But how much do you think a biographical film about fucking David Bowie 4 years after he died would do in the box office?
Hmm.
Would you like to know?
I have no idea. But
$9,087. That's
not even 5 digits.
Not even 5 digits. That's sad. But
that's
like,
really sad.
As a David Bowie fan, I will say there's a period of his life called the Berlin Trilogy where he did like 3 albums in Berlin, right? He's getting off drugs. He's going through a divorce. The music from that is really fucked up, and you can kind of tell he's going through a lot of shit in his life because like his performances range from like barely sober trying to perform to like I'm fully sober performing at the peak of my ability. And like that is a movie I'd watch, just the making of those 3 albums, just because of like all the bullshit going on in his life. Perfect. This kind of shit where it's like so well documented, as you said, unnecessary. Only should get $9,000 in the box office.
The only good music biopic is Spinal Tap.
They're not even a real band.
Yeah. That's kind of... No, they're not.
No, I'm talking about like any good music biopic movies.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, there's some, but...
I would say Amadeus is good.
Spinal Tap is still the best. That is actually fair. Amadeus is very good.
Yeah. But it's not...
I find it hard to call that a biopic, though. It's pretty dramatized.
Yeah. It's very fictionalized, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is good. It's entertaining.
It's a good movie. Just a good movie in general. Does not need to be a biopic. Yep.
Speaking of supposedly good movies, we've got 2 weeks of stuff to go through. There's not that much.
No.
But there's quite a few big ones.
Like?
Last week, at least. Well, we'll get to those.
Oh.
This week, though, there's 2 other releases that are big-ish, or wider releases, I guess, right? One that's doing quite well is The Black Phone, which is a horror movie. It's
Yes.
apparently just like actual horror. Have you heard about it?
I have heard about it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about it until I was looking up the releases this week, but it sounds um unique, at least original, right? For like film, you know?
So I have like a small problem with the title of this. I don't know much about
Sure.
it, but so you know the show Black Mirror, right?
Yep.
Do you know what the eponymous Black Mirror in the title is supposed to be?
Nope.
It's your phone screen when it's turned off.
Oh, okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. So, when I see the title The Black Phone, I can't help but think they're going for a Black Mirror scenario based off the title alone.
They're not.
Yeah.
So, this is the synopsis. Finney, a shy but clever 13-year-old boy, is abducted by a sadistic killer and trapped in a soundproof basement where screaming is of little use. When a disconnected phone on the wall begins to ring, Finney discovers that he can hear the voices of the killer's previous victims, and they are dead set, pun pun pun, on making sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to Finney.
This is
So
the
it's kind of like
Mhm.
mysticism kind of stuff with horror, but yeah, it's different for sure. It's got very striking imagery.
So this is by the same guy that was supposed to direct Doctor Strange 2 before Sam Raimi.
Is it
Yeah.
Scott Derrickson?
Yep. He did Doctor Strange 1.
Oh, he's busy.
He is busy.
Yeah.
Good on him though.
He did the first Doctor Strange
Yeah.
and Multiverse of Madness. Oh, executive producer. Oh, okay.
I think he did like the first draft of what the script should be before Sam Raimi came in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He probably had like some like guidance for it too, since he was working on it. But Raimi did the nitty gritty day to day.
Of course.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess you'd say villain, the antagonist. That's the word. The antagonist is played by Ethan Hawke, who is, I think, pretty well known. Dead Poet Society, Training Day. Kind of actor where you like see him in a role and you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy. You know.
Mhm.
Recently, I'm pretty sure this is accurate. I haven't actually looked it up. I'm pretty sure he is the antagonist in Moon Knight.
Still haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. I've been watching it very slowly. Yeah, not super big on it. It's like it's fine. Just got to the part where it gets kind of weird and is a little off-putting with how abrupt it is. But you know, we'll get through that later.
Mm.
But yeah, Black Phone seems interesting. Not really the kind of movie that I would typically go out and see, but yeah, this is very positively received, it seems.
Good.
When it's not, Murder at Yellowstone City,
What the fuck kind of title is that?
24%.
Ew.
Yeah, right. The once peaceful and booming Yellowstone City has fallen on hard times. When a local prospector strikes gold, things seem to, it's a western, just to be clear.
Okay.
When a local prospector strikes gold, things seem to be turning around. Any hope is soon shattered when this prospector is found dead, and the sheriff quickly arrests a mysterious newcomer. Nothing is as simple in this sleepy western town, and more than a few of the locals have secrets to keep and reasons to kill. As the brutal murders continue, pitting neighbor against neighbor, Yellowstone City goes down a bloody path to a final showdown that not all will survive. Skimming through the reviews earlier, the gist of this one seems to be that it has a lot of good actors, but the pacing kills it.
Mm.
It's too slow.
Okay.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
So, it is one of the weird ones, though. It has a 90% audience score. I've seen a lot of these. That's mostly why I want to talk about it, because I've seen a lot of these where it's like really bad reviews for the critics, but overwhelmingly positive from the audience. And I wonder how much of that is spoofed.
It's more than
I feel
likely
like-
botted. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be. If you're making a movie like this that you don't even necessarily know how it's going to be received, but isn't huge, like this has 17 critic reviews and fewer than 50 audience score. You know, if it doesn't get big, it's like oh shit, I should know this. I like that movie a lot. Mel Brooks. I'm looking it up real quick because I cannot remember. The producers.
Oh yeah.
It's the same idea as that, where it's just like, as long as it doesn't get too big and it doesn't get out of control, you just, juice the numbers a little bit so it doesn't look like complete dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
You throw 50 botted reviews at it, and as long as only 5 people give enough of a shit to actually come and give it a bad score, you're still going to sit at 90%, right?
Yeah.
And I do wonder how often that happens, because there's so much of it that just is exactly like that, where it's just like, yeah, this movie's not good. And then the audience is just like, this movie's great.
Marvel movies. But tits.
But when you get to Marvel movies, though, the scale just gets to be so big, you can't do something like that.
Oh yeah.
Or, like our next movie, Lightyear.
I forgot that came out. Fuck.
It's apparently doing quite well.
No, but it does not look good.
I don't know. So I can respect them completely divorcing it from the Toy Story shit. Because it is.
Mm-hmm.
It has no connection to that at all. Some of the jokes in the trailer are clearly targeted at a younger audience, but from what I understand, it seems to have enough actual story outside of the jokes that are basically made for kids, and appealing visuals, that it's not bad. It has a 75% critic score, 85% audience score, and it does deal with some pretty heavy themes from like a sci-fi perspective. So, yeah. I'm not going to be going out of my way to see it, but it doesn't seem to be that bad.
So, here's my contesting point from what I understand from people that went to see it, right?
Yeah.
One thing I've been very critical about with the Toy Story franchise is after the first movie, well, maybe actually the second movie, I feel like it's all been just giant toy commercials, right?
Yes.
This movie begins with, after seeing this movie, Andy wanted to get a Buzz Lightyear toy. Like, it's something along the lines as the opening lines for this movie.
No, I don't know about that, but yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So to me, I look at this and, well, all I see is a toy commercial.
I will say, given how much of the design seems to be for it, I don't necessarily think that's the case. You'd think if they were going to do toy commercial shit, basically, they would want to make sure that all of the characters look new and different, right? Like, they're definitely going to do toys in it. But when you look at the actual cast, that's not the vibe that I get. And yeah, they're going to make Buzz Lightyear toys. That stupid fucking cat thing is going to be in here. Whatever the hell it is. I don't understand that at all. They needed what is it? I hate everything has a term for that character. The cute character put in explicitly to be cute and for no other reason. A dibby.
A dibby.
They needed a dibby. So yeah, whatever. But like Buzz Lightyear's character and the bad guy Zurg, they're not new designs, If Disney wanted to, they could pump out whatever chaff they needed to for the week to make stuff like that sell. But like the animation for it is really good. So like,
I mean, at this point, I don't think Pixar can actually do any wrong animation-wise.
Look at that reflection.
Yeah.
The reflection off of his helmet is just like appealing. It's so well done.
You can see scratches in the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, imperfections.
There's just so much little detail in it that's just really neat and really nice.
It is really nice.
Is that like an official toy?
That's an official toy.
It looks like shit.
I know.
You know what the character's supposed to look like?
I think that's what the characters... I think that's Taika Waititi's character.
I have no idea.
Damn, dude.
I didn't even know he was in this, if I'm honest. But
He's
I'll
in
take
it.
your word for it.
That's why I understand.
That's so purple. His armor's like blue in the movie. What the hell? weird.
There's like multiple Buzz Lightyears you can get with different versions of the suit, apparently.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But like, as long as it's like the same way with pretty much everything that Disney does, right? They're gonna sell toys.
Yeah.
But as long as the movie underlying it isn't just garbage phoned in, and this one doesn't seem to be phoned in, I don't really care. They're gonna do what they do to make their money.
I mean, at this point, as long as it's not like actual Nazi propaganda, I don't think Disney can really go wrong with their material because it's so milquetoast and unoffensive. So, also, just wanted to point this out. This is the first Pixar movie to be in theaters for a couple of years now.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I know. We're just kind of so used to Disney Plus being like their dumping ground for this stuff.
I guess that's fair. I hadn't really thought about it.
Which is weird because I feel like this one belongs on Disney Plus, but like all the other ones that belong in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Toy Story is one of those properties that always surprises me with just how big and popular it is.
yeah, you're right. I think it plays to the same effect that Pokemon does, that it channels your inner child. And it's like something that's so appealing to like everybody's inner child that their toys are going to come to life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One more major movie release.
Okay.
They made another one.
Made another what?
Jurassic Park.
Aren't they out of dinosaurs yet? When are we getting Triassic Park? Where's Cretaceous period Park?
Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a whole 30% critic score.
Good.
Have you seen the skit that was going around based on this? I'll send it to you if you haven't.
I have not. Go on, please.
So it was a comparison of the quality of the different movies, and it starts with like a print off of the Mona Lisa for the first one. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty good, right, guys? And everyone's just like, yeah, we did good. All right, let's do the second one. It just gets progressively worse and more fucked up.
Like, the problem I have with Jurassic Park is the first one is really good. I don't think there's like any way you can improve on that formula because it was done nearly perfect. My only complaint with Jurassic Park is that there's no goddamn feathers on the goddamn dinosaurs. Like,
well, it's the same thing where it's marketing, right? They gotta keep their consistent design.
I know.
Yeah. It's amusing. It's accurate in that sense of how the first one was really good, and the everything after is not all complete garbage, but not even comparable to how well done the first one was.
Oh yeah. It kind of feels like horror movies at times where you have like the outer icon and like everybody just keeps moving away to the vision thinking they know what the essence is, but it's not even that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like this is literally Jurassic Park 6, right?
Yeah.
It is just as bad as this point as like Fast and Furious was when it got to be just absurd and kind of dumb.
It's the Star Wars effect.
The big thing for this one was that it has Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, and Laura Dern returning as their characters. So yeah, it's
I know them.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Like, I'm even fine with just, like, maybe a Jeff Goldblum cameo because he's a fucking meme and just entertaining all around. But, like, I don't need everybody else. Stop pandering to me. I don't like being pandered to. If they really want to pander to me, they put some feathers on the goddamn dinosaurs.
The first critic review says, Goldblum aside, it's hard not to feel that the warm-blooded actors are phoning it in a bit. It's just like exactly the point.
I love him. He's perfect.
I do love how he is like. There's so many actors that have gotten to his age that just stop giving a shit,
Yeah.
and he just continues to just go all out, and I love that. He could phone it in, but he doesn't, and that's what's great.
Yeah. He respects our time as much as we respect his time.
Can't wait for Indiana Jones 5. Harrison Ford needs more money.
Indiana Jones 5, The Quest for More Money.
God. The fact that they have the audacity to make another Indiana Jones movie after how bad the fourth one was is galling. It's one of those movies that people on social media will try to gaslight you into saying, no, it was actually good. Don't believe them. It was garbage. It was garbage then, and it's garbage now.
Did you ever see the South Park episode where we made fun of that movie?
No.
Oh my god. It's one of my favorite South Park skits. Because like everybody pretends like they didn't just see that movie. And when everybody describes it, they describe it as watching Indiana Jones get raped by George Lucas for like an hour.
Nice. One last movie release.
Oh no.
That I only want to talk about because I find the title funny.
Okay.
I believe this is not necessarily a mistranslation, but kind of a lost in translation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Korean film. But the translated title is The Witch 2, The Other One.
That's a beautiful title. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's great. I love it.
That is only intentional. That is some Gremlins 2, the second batch kind of shit.
Yeah. This is the kind of movie that I wish there was like not The Witch, you know? I want this to be the first movie.
Yeah.
Just like, fuck it. We're going straight to number 2.
No, you know, when we eventually do the Schmoes movie, Schmo v. Wade, it is going to be just the Two Schmoes 2. Let people guess what the first one was all about.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to highlight on our beautiful show today where absolutely everything went well in the world and we didn't have to report anything bad?
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, I'm the infamous Orion, and I should worry about my podcast now because abortions are legal. I mean, illegal.
I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmo Show.